Hi everyone, thanks for joining in. It's a new episode of Crowd Resilience TV with Maria Hubmer-Mogg, and my guest today is none other than Monica Smit, here in Vienna, Austria, from Australia, to join us at the Better Way conference. Thank you, Monica, for coming such a long way to join us, to be with us, and just for your work, for your hard work that you've been doing throughout the Corona pandemic time.
It's an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for organising this, because I've been able to make connections that will never go away, and I just am thankful from the bottom of my heart. So thank you so much. And thank you, Austria, for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that was like the idea, that we just not see us on Zoom, because we can interconnect so much better when we meet in person and when we have a drink, when we listen to good music and we come up with ideas. And it's so great. What we have seen in the last days already is just, it is just about this personal connection, and this is so important in these times. So, as I told you with my Crowd Resilience TV interviews, I want to motivate people, and I want to let people know what makes, especially you now, resilient in these times. What makes you, strong and brave to do what you're doing?
Well, I'll have to bring God into it, because for me, that really helps. So whether it's God or a higher being or the universe or energy, it doesn't matter what it is, but I do feel strength from that, and I do feel guided by that, because I don't have children. I have nieces and nephews, but a lot of people are motivated by their children, and I am definitely motivated by children, but not my own. So what the difference with maybe me and other people is not really any difference at all. I'm not more courageous than you or anyone else. The difference is when I heard the voice at 3 o'clock in the morning. There is this voice that comes to you sometimes, and it says, you could do more, you could do better, you could spend more time with your children, you could in other things. It doesn't have to be about the freedom movement. The difference is I just listened to the voice and I trusted the voice. That's it. So anyone at home can be courageous. It doesn't matter what their lifestyle is or what it is in particular. Just listen to the voice when it tells you that you are capable of more, and that's what keeps me going.
I get really goosebumps. As people know, I like to do my interviews outdoors. It's like always outdoors, and we had like rainy weather today, so we said we're doing it like kind of outdoors but still inside, in case it's raining. And I didn't get the goosebumps because it's a little windy here. I got the goosebumps because honestly, you're like a sister, from over the ocean. Because when I want to bring in God in my interviews, I always say the same. It's like exact the same words. I say, and if you don't feel comfortable by calling the universe or this power, this immense power that is there for us, God, then you just say universe, whatever, and you just said exactly the same. And we just met here for the first time, and it's so beautiful. Because I also want to say that there is something, and there is hope, and there is, we have mind, soul, and body, and if we just be in line and just see that we are here for a reason, basically,
And I think maybe, this is just an opinion, but maybe some people were so easily fooled by the government, and they look up to them as their hero because they don't believe in a higher power. So they think that this is all we have. And they also, with the Big Bang Theory or evolution, they think that they are an accident, that they don't have a purpose. But because if we believe in a higher power, we know that, no, I was put here for a reason. I am important if I listen. And no man is my hero.
Yes.
They can guide me, but they are not my hero, and they are not going to help me. So I think just having that feeling of being supported, like when I was in prison, I knew that God was with me, and I asked him for guidance to make sure I was making the right decision, and that I wasn't doing it because I wanted to be a hero, or I wanted publicity, or because I'm, want to be famous for going to prison. I wanted to make sure that I was doing it for the right reasons. And he made me feel confident that it was for the right reason. And without that reassurance, I may have been very conflicted, so yeah.
And so can you just tell us a little about how it felt to be in prison? Because this is a special situation, and no one wants to face that. But how was it?
Well, 3 days before it happened, I actually had a vivid dream. It was just as I was falling to sleep, so kind of a lucid dream, that I was arrested, and that they gave me very bad bail conditions, and that I wouldn't sign it, and I went to prison. And it was so real to me that I told my my boyfriend at the time that if this happens, I'm not going to sign the bail conditions. And we kind of laughed about it. And 3 days later, it happened exactly like my dream. And so I was really prepared. And when it happened, I was like, oh, okay, so the dream was real.
Okay.
So I wasn't scared or angry or fearful. It was like, oh, okay, right.
You kind of were prepared for that.
God prepared me for it. That's why I was calm, you know. And just so your audience knows, I didn't go to prison for the crime. I went to prison because I could not sign the bail conditions because they wanted me to basically close down my organisation. And I wouldn't have been able to speak against the COVID restrictions at all, full stop. And my staff would have lost their jobs and all of this sort of thing. So that's why I went to prison for 22 days to wait to appeal the bail conditions. But also the government at the time were doing the same process to other people in the movement, and they had no choice but to sign the bail because maybe they had children or maybe they didn't have the support and the finances to fight. So people were being silenced through this, and I thought, I have to fight it so I can set a precedent for someone else later. Anyway, prison itself, the most traumatic thing was the strip search because it kind of feels like a rape. I don't want to say it's kind of negative, but it's true.
Yeah.
Once I got in there though, it was fine. It was very relaxing. I'm sure you work really hard.
Yeah, 24/7.
Right?
Yeah.
You could probably use 22 days in jail too.
I have friends, and he's a doctor in Salzburg in Austria, and he was like, you know what, if they put me in jail, I finally have the time to write my book, you know, and I was like, okay, cool.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a book in jail with handwriting, and you know, these days we don't do handwriting, but somehow I could. And I had a routine, and I slept a lot, and I thought a lot. And when the guards would come to me, I had just finished an interview with a professor about vitamin D and how if we could just boost our vitamin D levels, even if COVID was dangerous, we could stop it from even entering our system. You would know about that. Anyway, I just finished the interview just before I got arrested. And so I was telling all the guards, you know, you should really get your vitamin D levels.
Yeah, you're inside all the time. There's no sunlight whatsoever
and they're like,
here.
Who is this girl, you know?
And she's even helping us, you know.
And the psychologist would come because I was in isolation because
yeah.
I didn't want to take a PCR test. So 22 days, no sunshine, no wind, no nothing. And, you know, they would come to check if I was okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, I'm fine. How are you? And they're like,
yeah, great.
You know, I just made a joke of it, you know.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Inspiring.
But I'm not a robot. Obviously, it's traumatic.
Of course, you don't want to be there.
You get treated like a dog. Like they don't open the door for anything. They talk to you through a letterbox slot in the door. Your food comes through the little slot in the door.
Really?
They don't open the door.
Oh, okay,
So it's traumatic in that way. And the other women, hearing the other women in the because they had just come off the street, so they're on drugs or on alcohol, and hearing them go through, and they've all been there before. That was traumatic. And then when I got out, I was still on bail, and I couldn't break any COVID restrictions, or else I would go back to prison for 3 months.
Wow.
So I was very scared of them catching me doing something wrong, which I wasn't, and sometimes I would come home.
Which was at some point doing walks like too far away from your home address. I saw something really traumatizing from Australia. It was a mother that was walking in the streets with her son and a friend, and she had a sign, you know, and the sign said, you know about the story, I'm pretty sure it says, know your rights, otherwise you don't have any. And that time, that was the first time that I was crying. It was in the summertime. I think it was it 2020?
It was.
I think
it was right at the beginning.
Right in the beginning, and I saw that video. It was done by Rebel News.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, you know, and I don't want to get too deep into this because it was really heavy stuff to see how her kid was taken from her, and the kid was screaming after mommy, and she was pushed in this police car. I was like, oh my God, where is mankind? Where are we right now? What's going on in the world, you know? And so we really, you know, we also had this beautiful rally in front of the Australian Embassy on 4th of December. I saw you know, and so many people asking for people to stand up and go to the embassy. And friends of mine organized that protest. organized, and I was speaking there as well, you know. And on that day, we had a big rally in the center of Vienna as well. And it was just like we didn't know each other, but we were already connected that time. I felt like absolutely we are standing here with our Australian brothers and sisters. And then the other way around, like in November, you know, there were people who knew that the mandatory vaccination was set in Austria and just in Vatican and in Micronesia and I don't know where else, but just little countries, you know, and then Austria. And I was like, what is going on here, you know? And that's when I started the big movement to go on the streets and so on. So, you know, we all, you know, did the same on different continents, and there's so much interconnection. And I feel so sorry that people like you got arrested, but it's also, you know, after going through it and you were prepared somehow, as you said, and you say, I'm stronger even now. And you pointed it out in a media conference and when you were speaking, you know, they gave you a voice, and that's like so amazing, you know, to make the best out of it, even if life has, you know, funny surprises for you, you know.
It's really a joke for them. I think they regret that. And I will say, we also went to the Austrian embassy as well, but my microphone malfunctioned, so I wasn't able to make a video. But I did go to the embassy in Austria with a group of people, not big, but I felt very sorry for what you were going through. We were going through such a similar thing, and we only have 2 letters different in our country. Yes. Maybe
there's something about it, you know.
And thank you for doing that. It felt, because I had just gotten out of prison, and I wasn't allowed to go to the biggest protest in Australian history. I could not go. So once I did get a helicopter, and I was on top of the protest in the helicopter, because
someone arranged that for you. That's amazing.
Because I was like, well, fine, if I can't go, I'll just be on top. You know?
That's cool. And you could just see it from the air, and
we've got to find loopholes, right?
Yes.
Even if it's not fair. But thank you. The synergy that we're seeing now, especially at this conference that you've organised, it's beyond beautiful, and I think my heart is going to be filled for many, many weeks to come.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely. So that's about it, about, you know, getting to know each other personally and figuring out great ideas, because I let the audience already know on stage when I was opening at this Better Way conference day today that it is about, you know, we are not just on stage, and we have our talks and we have our meetings and strategy meetings besides this. So, you know, people can be hopeful that we are bringing up good ideas, and we invite other people to join us.
Yeah, I think people who are really busy with their lives, it's important that they know that people like you are fighting for them and bringing people together. They really need hope, because if you take hope away from people, then they're going to stop trying, you know. So I think it's so important with your show and with what you do here, just to remind people that there is a reason to wake up every day, and that every day is one day closer to us living the life we want. Because it's going to happen. It just might take some time.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, it's if not now, when? And really, people should be encouraged to say when they see things are going really wrong, they should stand up and have a voice, raise their voice,
And I will say, like, before we finish that, like, my one message at the moment, which after 2.5 years of being on the front line like yourself, fighting, is that I think it's time that we stop giving so much energy to the globalists, right?
Yes.
And actually, if we're just like, oh yeah, whatever, of course they're going to do terrible things. They're terrible people.
Yes.
We should not expect anything else. So you see a bad news headline, you say, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to go to my veggie garden, or we just need to start preparing for the life we want. And I call myself, and it doesn't matter, it's just a term, but I call myself a freedom lover instead of a freedom fighter.
Yeah, that's
and
beautiful.
The terminology, it changes the mentality.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
if on a big scale, if we can all start ignoring the bullies in the schoolyard, that's what I call them, then it's going to annoy them more than big protests, actually.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. It's also like the everybody's talking about mass formation. And so I said, hey, we're in crowd resilience. Don't care about the mass formation. I'm not into that, you know.
Well, we could do it the other way.
Yeah.
If we are like the cool people, like we're happy people, right? Even though we're fighting.
Absolutely.
We're preparing. But if we are just so happy and joyful and having a good time in life, people are attracted to that. But if we're fighting and angry, they're never going to be. So if you want the community to grow, you have to do it with love. But it sounds a bit lame, and it's going to take a lot longer. But it's better for all of us.
exact the same with, you know, what you said before. It is really when we go on stage, my friends and I, and especially one friend, she just started to organize these protests when we were, you know, you need to tell the police that you're going to do this protest and you sign a document for that and so on. So my friend and I, we always go on stage and we just inform the people, and we bring musicians on stage and we say we are allowed to have a good time, you know, and it's good to have that feeling of being in this crowd and having good time. And people were almost looking forward to the next rally because they said, I'm going to meet these people again.
It's a party.
And it's such a good feeling, you know, and we're allowed to have that.
Yeah.
It's so important, such an important note. And also what you just said, it's really so much about giving the globalists not too much energy, you know. It's so much about having a good time and inviting people to join us. And I'm also not a big fan of saying resistance, you know, because people go like that and they are sometimes like, yeah, you're so talking nicely on stage with such hard times. And I was like, no, I'm here on stage because there's something going wrong. But I want to tell the people, hey, wherever you stand, did you take the jab or not? Just join us. There are doctors who can help with side effects. You probably found out yourself by now that was not the best decision to do that. And it's just bringing people together. Vaccinated, unvaccinated, people who don't know how they should pay their bills in this winter, you know. Bring us all together, have a good idea, and just tell the people who are, you know, in politics and who make that this is happening, that they can't go on like this, you know.
The government wants us to hate each other. So we just have to do the opposite and love each other, even if people were really, really horrible to us. Because what I've realised is what we have been through in the last 2.5 years has actually made us stronger people, better people probably. We feel more empowered and purpose and things like that. But the people who were terrible to us, when they realise what's happened, they're going to go through a worse time than we did. So I think we need to really be ready to be there for those people and never say, I would encourage no one to say, I told you so. No. Because that only makes you feel good for a second, but it's never going to help. So even the people that were really mean to you, try to find it in your heart to be ready, because it's going to be hard.
I said the same to my doctor's colleagues who were absolutely pro giving these COVID-19 injections to kids and small kids even, you know. And I was like, you know, they will find out one day that that was such a bad idea to do that and to go for it, because just the medical chamber or some experts were telling them to do so, you know. And I said, I really think that some of them probably need spiritual help one day when they find out what they have done, you know.
And we're going to need to be there for them because it's going to be so bad. I mean, the police that shot rubber bullets at us in Melbourne, I saw some police, they were crying, you know, under the mask, but they were still there, and they have to live with that, not us.
They have to live with that, you know? That's true.
So I feel more sorry for them, and I forgive them already because they were under mass formation, they were under psychosis. Maybe they had a slight opportunity to make a decision to go one side, but most of the time, people want to be good, most of the time. So I don't blame them, I blame the puppeteers.
Yes, absolutely.
Not the puppets.
Yes.
Mostly.
Yeah, that's good. I know what you mean exactly. So here you are as a freedom lover, and I'm a person, also a freedom lover, and we are both, you know, in this crowd resilient movement, I'd call it. And just thank you so much for what you're doing. And if you just want to let the people know about Reignite Freedom, that would be amazing at the global walkout, just in a couple of sentences, so people can know where they can join. And
Sure. So the global walkout, the concept is, once a week, at the same time every week, we announce a new step, and it can be very, very simple, like try to use cash as much as possible. There might be a step like make sure you spend 3 hours outside this week, whether it's in one sitting or more. So very simple steps, but it's all about learning how to live in the world that you want. And also, probably both of us in some way have subscribed to globalism by accepting the conveniences of the tapping the cards and the, you know, the iPhone watches and the Bluetooth headphones and all this stuff, and we answer emails straight away while we're in a line at a shopping centre. We don't need to be so connected to these things. So it's a gradual process to disconnect from all these toxic things. So the idea really is about hopefully millions of people doing the same thing in unison all around the world. It will obviously be very empowering, but also it could be very impactful if it goes the way that, I mean, I'm a very optimistic person, so when I say millions, I just hope it happens and we'll see. But imagine if 10 million people said to Facebook, we're going to unsubscribe from Facebook tomorrow if you don't reinstate all the pages that you censored because of ivermectin or because of these things. It could be very powerful. That's the hope, and we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Monica, for all that you are doing. You're a friend now, and I just want to stay in contact with you, and thank you for your amazing work.
Thank you so much for doing this conference. I can't put into words. I wish I could, but I'm so thankful. And Australia, I will say, Australia is thankful because I feel like I'm here representing my country, not just Monica, but them. And so I want to thank you from the 26 million Australians for doing this.
Thank you so much. So please join us again next week, Friday, 8:15 p.m. Central European Time, Vienna. So watch the next episode of Crowd Resilience TV. Thank you.